From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building dreams with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.
Welcome back to Dog Tags to Ownership, the podcast where we sit down with members of the military community who took their experience, grit, and sense of purpose and turned it into something bigger.
Today, we've got a powerhouse husband and wife team joining us. Jerry, JDog Flanagan, and Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan. Together, Jerry and Tracy have built businesses, created opportunities for veterans, and shown what can happen when entrepreneurship and a commitment to serving others collide.
And this is a big week for Tracy. She's dropping the 200th episode of the Tactical Treasures podcast, and somehow she decided to let me be a guest for this milestone episode. So make sure to check out Tactical Treasures podcast this week and help us help Tracy celebrate 200 episodes of sharing stories, lessons, and tactical treasures from incredible people.
And stay with us until the end because we're highlighting this week's Forces Brands USA Business of the Week. Grill Your Ass Off, another military-connected brand doing things a little differently.
Grab your coffee and notebook, and let's get into it. Today, we're extremely excited to introduce our guests to the show, Jerry JDog and Tracy, Miss JDog Flanagan. Jerry is an Army veteran, and Tracy is a proud veteran spouse, and they are the co-founders of JDog Brands, the largest veteran franchise in the nation. Tracy is also the host of Tactical Treasures podcast, giving veterans, military spouses, and military influencers a voice in the veteran space. Jerry and Tracy, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today to discuss your journey from turning your dog tags into ownership. How are you both doing?
We're doing great. Thanks for having us.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, really excited to bring you guys on the show. And I know, Tracy, you and I did an interview for Tactical Treasures a few weeks ago, and that episode is also going to air this week, your 200th episode. So super excited about that and promoting what you're doing with Tactical Treasures. But before we get into you all's entrepreneurship journey, Jerry, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your military service?
Yeah, sure. So I served in the late 80s. I did 2 years active duty, 2 years Pennsylvania National Guard. It was pre-Desert Storm. So my unit went over about a year and a half after I had gotten out. In the military, I was a cable wire dog. The name JDog is, that's where it came from. So it was just kind of a natural nickname. When I would show up at the basketball court, my name was Jerry and it was a wire dog. So JDog kind of fit the mold there. And that's about as interesting as the story gets because that's it. When we started the JDog model for junk removal, I'd always had the nickname. I just never really used it. And it went with junk removal. So very happy. JDog junk removal. Very studious of me.
Just a few weeks ago, we had Scott Lackey on, and he created his first business when he got out of the military was the wire dog, because he was also a Army comms guy. And when they were in Desert Storm, he came up with this idea to lay wire. They would build a trench behind the Humvee, and then they would just go through and lay it. And he called that the wire dog. And I believe he took it to trademark and patent, but it never went through. But that was his first journey. And so you saying that just
very cool
connection with people, right? In the Army and the military is always like so amazing to hear those types of things. But Tracy, I know you came along a little bit later with Mr. JDog, Jerry, and you call yourself a veteran spouse. What is that like for you coming in and marrying Jerry after his time in the service, but becoming a veteran spouse? How has that been impactful for you?
Well, I think knowing Jerry, meeting him, he had kind of put his service in a box until JDog. But I noticed that he had certain quirks that, I had to get used to. I noticed very early on that when we walked into a bar or a restaurant or whatever, I always had to ask where I was supposed to sit because he always needed to face the door. He had claustrophobic issues. He still does today. So, I mean, just little quirks that I needed to get used to. But being in the veteran space right now has been such an honor and so rewarding for me as a civilian to be able to host tactical treasures and be able to connect with such amazing people who served our country and wore the cloth of our nation. It's just been an honor and has meant so much to me. And I think it's really given me a bird's eye view that as a civilian, I probably would not have had. And it's made me really appreciate the sacrifice.
Jerry, what informed your decision to separate from active duty to go into the reserves around that time frame? Did you initially plan to make the Army a career, or were you always just planning on doing your initial term and then doing something else after?
Yeah, the whole plan was go in the military. Back then, there was the Montgomery GI Bill, which basically turned out to be beer money. It was so small. It was like $17,000 over 5 years or something. And I thought I was a good enough football player, play at Kutztown University. And when I went in the military and I got out, I was 21 and trying to go to Kutztown. I lasted 5 months in school. The kids were so much younger and stronger, and steroids was really popular back then. So yeah, the football thing never really happened. So that was my original game plan. And then when I watched Desert Storm take off, I tried to re-enlist, and they weren't really bringing people back in. It was just a quick war. They weren't really in need of people. So I joined the Pennsylvania National Guard. I just did infantry there just to see what would happen, but nothing really came of it. That's the ultimate time to went to a shoebox. I mean, I always wanted to join the military, but I don't think the reasons for joining the military when I was going in 1987, it's a lot different today. Obviously, the access to so many wars and all of the people that have gone through PTSD. And there's a lot of considerations now when you join the military. Back then, it was like, watch the movie Stripes and let's go. That was kind of my philosophy.
How was your transition out when you were finished with the reserves, and what did you go into at that point?
Well, I grew up in a very low income family. So the idea was just try to make a little bit more money than my parents. And if I could do that, then I'm a success. But, it wasn't that I failed. It was just that I thought I was going to go into college, get a degree, play some football. All those things kind of just went in the toilet. So I almost felt like I started from scratch. It was almost like I went in the military, did this thing, went in the reserves. That wasn't much. And I don't know if you know much about the reserves in 1991. The equipment really didn't work well. No one really shaved. It was not the active duty military. Well, it certainly wasn't like the military is today. I mean, the reserves and guards are so much different. So I didn't feel that connected to the military, even though I enlisted twice. So it definitely went in a box. I didn't know about the VA benefits a whole lot. I didn't go through any of those things.
Okay.
Until the JDog junk removal model started in 2011. So kind of interesting. I had a DD-214 and I never really knew what to do with it.
Jerry, when you got out, what was the first thing you did after you got out of the military before you started the JDog model?
I wound up working multiple jobs. I was a dishwasher. I was a bouncer in Philadelphia at the bar, and I worked at a gas station at night. And then I worked part-time at a gym. So my idea was 3 jobs equals 1 in my income level, what I grew up with. It was what it was. It was accepted that was kind of part of my life. So, and in the military, I learned a lot about working unbelievable amount of hours and not getting paid a lot. So that helped. So I could definitely out hustle everybody. I finally got a job working for a guy with a Halloween business. And you ever see the seasonal Halloween stores that pop up?
Yeah.
Well, I went to working for someone who's one of the innovators, regional innovators of that. And I literally worked there 7 years. And I went from just hustling, building stores, working in the warehouse, merchandising stores, to running a store. Then I wound up becoming a district manager, a regional manager. I became the number 3 guy in the company. And I did well in my world. I was making 25,000 and 30, then 35. It was, wow. I was rich, Bel Air. He was making his $1 million, $2 million, $4 million. Then I realized, what the heck is going on here? And I think the entrepreneur bug bit me really hard from just working for somebody for so many hours and watching them make so much money and succeed. And I felt like I knew way more than he did at that point. I had outgrown my situation in the company. So I went out on my own, did my own Halloween thing. And I think the rest is kind of history. I bounced around to a couple of different businesses, a couple failures. Thank God I have her to continue picking me back up. So when the JDog thing came along, I wasn't saying, it was not that I was used to failing, but I got to a point where I was kind of sick of failing, and it motivates you, I think, a little bit.
And when did you and Tracy get together then? Like Tracy, where do you come into the picture with the entrepreneurial journey and that whole thing?
Yeah, so I came into the picture in 2003, and he was still working with the Halloween company. And then 2 years later is when we went out on our own and we opened up a swing set retail store. And I had a daughter, he had a daughter. It worked out well. They were 3.5, and 5 when we got together. So we're a blended family. The retail model worked really well until the 2008 economy crash. So thus the start of JDog. But at that time, Jerry had an amazing resume. He was working with a headhunter, trying to get a regular job. The side hustle was junk removal. He couldn't even get an interview because he had on the resume that he served. People didn't care that he served. He didn't have a college degree, but he went in and served the country out of high school at 18. And it was he kind of looked at me and he said, I'm doing this side hustle thing, but guess what? I'm like, I know, we're starting another business. Here we go. And he was like, yeah, honey, junk removal. And I'm like, what? I'm like, junk removal? That's the new business? This show back in the 70s. Yeah, I'm dating myself. Called Sanford and Son. Is that what we're talking about? And he was cracking up. He's like, no. He's like, come to the computer. Let's look at the business plan. Let me show you. And I learned that it is like a $6 billion business, that everybody gets junk, and, the rest is history. So I said, okay, let's go. Here we go. So, and that was 2011.
2011. And add to that story, it didn't start out with a military brand at all. Just to be clear with that, it was strictly a side hustle. I was going to impress all my neighbors, pull up to the middle school where all the moms go to pick up their kids at 2:00. Well, obviously, so was a single dad until I met Tracy. So I wanted to pick up my kid up. I always did. So I'd be there in my little Jeep with the trailer all dirty, and I would hand out my little index cards and say, I can haul your junk. I live right up the street. Our kids play together at school. And they said, that's great. I know you. I trust you. I would love to have you in my home. I felt like that was going to be my competitive advantage, being your neighbor, almost like Allstate, Nationwide, whatever. Be your neighbor, be the good guy there. And then 2 weeks into it, I was at a customer's house, had the haircut. I was there 15 minutes early, called him sir, did the job really cheap, had a good conversation with him. And he asked me what branch I served in. And I was like, ooh, okay, well, I served in the Army. And I said, how'd you know? He was like, well, how'd I know? What contractors show up at your house early, say, yes, sir, and sweep up when they're done. And, as polite as you are, like, that doesn't happen anytime. And I said, well, I guess the military never really leaves you once you go in. He goes, you should tell everybody that you served. I said, why would I do that? I mean, I was a wire dog. That has nothing to do with junk removal. He goes, well, it has everything to do with your relationship with the consumer, because I would use you all the time. And when you leave, I'm going to tell 10 people that a military veteran just picked up my junk to my house. And I went home. I said, Trace, and I was at Fort Stewart, Georgia. So I said, time to tame the bulldog, from which she invented it online, which was like the Gonzaga bulldog, and she made it up. I said, we got to turn into a real military bulldog. And I said, I started at Fort Stewart, Georgia, the Rock of the Marne, Rocky the Bulldog. So I took Rocky the Bulldog. We tweaked them up a little bit, and that's how the JDog, trademark was born. It was not my idea to do the military brand. A customer told me. I wish I knew they were. They'd be really impressive in 85 locations. But once that happened, the light bulb went off. Now they have a real competitive advantage, because you have all 14 competitors in the area all fighting for junk removal. You have one here about junk orders, junk this, junk that. Everyone can get a truck and be a junk guy. So the barrier to entry is awful. I mean, anybody can do it. So basically, being that veteran-owned and operated model, the phone started blowing up. And I said, Trace, she was working at the church at the time, part-time. And I said, you may want to get her replaced and help me with the phone calls and help me haul junk on the weekends. And my daughter was 12 and she was helping me all. My other daughter was helping with QuickBooks. So we turned this into the real family model, and we were all in.
Yeah.
And so much for looking for a job that I know I was going to get anyway.
That is an amazing story, how a customer is the reason that you brought your military service out. And that's like one of the bases of JDog Junk Removal now is veteran-owned brand, your franchisees or a lot of veterans, that type of thing, and serving the community. But at the beginning, you guys talked about the JDog model. Can you tell us what the JDog model is and what you all built with that model?
What we realized with the JDog brand, once the dog was developed and people would ask you, what's JDog? You talk about the military opportunity, creating opportunities for veterans, getting the veteran unemployment rate to under 1%. All these things surrounding the brand started to feel really good, not just to me and Tracy, but to everybody we would meet. And we would drive our trucks down the street. Kids would wave. They want to take pictures at the supermarket with us. People are running up to get business cards. That's not normal in the construction or service industry. You're not running up to the garbage guy. Give me your truck. I love your truck. They don't do that. So with us, it's almost like we're miniature rock stars everywhere we go when you wear the gear. And I think people look at JDog as it's an opportunity for the military community to get into a business where they can hire their own fellow veterans, their brothers and sisters. We're the only people on the planet that's doing that. I'm sure there's some people now floating in and a lot of knockoffs, a lot of junk removal companies using our stuff, which I guess is a compliment. But to me, the JDog brand really opens up an opportunity for a customer to say, I want to use JDog for everything. And this has happened to me in the past. You're here. You showed up early. I trust you. I see your trucks everywhere. I can find you when I need you. When you call, you answer. It's a different relationship with the average consumer. And I think that's what we were trying to create with the JDog brand. It's not your normal junk removal company. It's not your normal carpet cleaning or floor care company, or stick any service behind it. At one point, I drew up 20 business ideas under JDog. I want to be the Angie's List of JDog. So basically of the service world, you pick up the phone, you call JDog, press 1 for this, press 2 for that. It could be any service in my desk here. And it's got all the business ideas. I guess if I had all the time in the world and all the money in the world, we would have gone through every opportunity there possibly could be. But to me, it really is setting ourselves up to say JDog works in almost any community in the country because of that military veteran connection, not because of Jerry Flanagan or Tracy Flanagan. It's about that military veteran or the military family that had a real proud family they served with. It's about them opening up in anywhere in the country and saying, we're here to do a good job. You could trust us. And by the way, I'm going to go to the VA hospital and I'm going to try to hire a couple of veterans that need help. That's it in a nutshell.
At what point did you decide, hey, I want to make this into a franchise business?
And decided.
Okay.
She did.
All right. So Tracy, this question's for you then. What made you think that the business model was ready for that?
Well, we were doing well. Again, we had the community really wrapped their arms around us. And the administration at the time in 2012 were starting to downsize the military, and servicemen and women were being forced retired and getting out. And a lot of them had no clue as to what Plan B was. And I looked at Jerry and I said, you know what? We're all about veterans. We're all about hiring veterans. What if we put them into business? I mean, we know the soft skills and the leadership skills that servicemen and women and military veterans bring to any job. And I said, this isn't rocket science. It's junk removal. And I said, you teach the field. I have the customer service and back office, marketing. I said, we could train this. We could do this. So that was it. We took off and we started franchising. And it was really crazy because people were calling and he'd be removing a couch and taking a phone call. Oh, you're a veteran? Great. So my wife's going to call you. We'll send you over a franchise agreement. I mean, we were wearing dual hats. It was kind of ridiculous. And then 2014, we partnered with our two partners now that are Julep Run Capital here in Berlin. They've been great for us. They helped us take the brand national.
Tracy, now you have Tactical Treasures. So can you talk about how you got Tactical Treasures, the podcast, and really the branding strategy, marketing strategy that you all have behind the JDog brand?
I'll talk about the TV show and then I'll let you talk about your podcast. So there was the Dog Whisperer. I don't know if you guys ever saw that show. Mm-hmm. The guy who created that show, Jim Melio, had heard about us. And he thought it was like this idea of American Pickers meets Storage Wars. So he's like, would you guys be interested in doing a TV show? And it's pay to play. So we had to go, we can get a sponsor to help us, and we sponsored it. And we wound up putting up 10 episodes. We were on Discovery Channel and American Heroes Channel. And we'd been on Tubi and all these other streaming networks for a while. It's extremely expensive to put a production together with that type of team. I think we were probably way over our heads, but we did it. We got it done. So there was not a season 2. We were hoping to get picked up by one of these streaming networks, but it really just didn't happen. So we just had the one season. It was tremendous exposure. It was a lot of fun, but it was real. I mean, we were building into people's homes, picking up stuff and driving the good stuff to donate to veterans in need. And that's kind of what we do now. I mean, it's a lot of what went on in that TV show is almost like the daily experience. So it was very easy for us to film and get behind. Tracy was our auction girl, and we actually started off auctioning some of the stuff that I collected. And I'm sad that I did it, because the one thing I always was so proud of was I had the original 20 Sports Illustrated magazines with all the baseball cards in them. And yeah, I got that at a junk job. I tried to give it back to the guy who didn't want it. I kept it. So I had it here in my office forever. And I was like, can't hold on to this. So we raised money and donated to our foundation.
Yeah.
So there was really cool stuff that we were, you'd find something cool and, at a job. Tracy would do a whole skit online.
I had a 3-minute spot in each episode where I was
The auction queen.
lady. And basically, I started, hello, everybody. Tracy, Miss JDog Flanagan with you here today. So today we have this lovely rotary phone. Who doesn't need a rotary phone? And I'd pick it up, and I had this whole little thing that I did, and we bid it. I'd start the bidding it, whatever. And that's how we raised money for the foundation. And I remember Jim Melio telling me, well, because when we were recording these, he was like, well, usually people get a prompter, but you're doing great. You don't need a prompter. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks a lot.
He's a natural. So,
and it was between Jerry and Jim, he was like, we should do a podcast. Tracy could be the host. And it was a great way to promote the show. So it started in July of 2021 after filming, or we were just finishing up filming, and I would promote the show, intro and outro. I would say, and don't forget, set your calendars for October, whatever Tactical Treasures is. So I don't know, but so that was 2021. And then in 2022, it just sort of took on a life of its own. And
well, I played the game at nighttime. So we'd be watching TV and I'd go, who's the craziest guest can I get for Tracy? So I'd go on LinkedIn. And if I wasn't friends with them, I would just say, hey, so-and-so, you want to be on. And Joe Petraeus, it was popular. I think kind of most famous guest I got. Cole, I wasn't even friends with him on LinkedIn. I said, hey, let's connect, General. And by the way, I have a podcast. So I want to be on it. And he replied to me. I'm like, what? I was just.
But not only that, he was like,
and he wanted to buy JDog.
He wanted to buy JDog.
Yeah, he was like, oh, yeah, because he works for KKR, a big equity firm. He's like,
KCR.
We could buy JDog and buy up all the waste management companies. I'm like, whoa, I was only reaching out to you.
Do you want to be on my wife's
my podcast? And he came up with great to say, it was awesome. Yeah. But then I got, Dakota Meyer, there's a lot of really incredible guests that Tracy's had on it. And now it's like, I felt like I've been fired because I haven't had to. It's all this organic stuff. But in the beginning, I will take credit for it.
Yes, he was my angel.
Tracy, next week, your 200th episode will air. That is an incredible accomplishment. So congratulations from 2 podcasters to 1. We hope to be you one day and to be at 200. But how has your podcast, Tactical Treasures, evolved since you had Jerry as your talent coordinator, manager, to today doing it on your own?
It's been really amazing. And I've had guests, and you're the 200th episode going live next week, by the way. So congratulations on being guest number 200. I think we talked on your podcast as to, I've spoken to people that I should have never had the privilege and honor of speaking with. It's just been amazing. And I think what I've also learned is there's so many amazing, incredible stories out there of men and women in our military community, whether they served, whether they're a mil spouse, whether they're just a civilian diving into the veteran space, trying to make a difference. And the stories that I've heard and had the privilege of having on my podcast and showcasing has just been rewarding and an honor. It's just thinking of some of the emotional stories, the vulnerability of some of my guests being willing to share their very difficult journeys. One in particular, Amy Dozer, Gold Star wife, shared her heartbreaking story of what happens after the knock. And she has a podcast, After the Knock, and I was promoting her podcast. And it's been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Been incredible. I love doing it. And the humility and humbleness in our military communities just been amazing.
Tracy, I couldn't agree more. Certainly echo your comments. And, Julie and I early on when we started the podcast, we're thinking the same thing. Like, we shouldn't be sitting in front of these people having these conversations. Like, it's amazing. And I would often say when we were done filming an episode, like that lifted me back up. So regardless of kind of where I was on my day, having these conversations with folks just really fills my cup back up. Can you both talk a little bit about just some of the challenges with creating the franchise, the scaling, the growth?
Well, that would be him.
That's true.
I just had the idea. So
Yeah. I would say that I think that both of us were so passionate about what we were doing. It was really contagious. So once people started hearing about this whole idea of the military veteran community, especially coming back after Afghanistan, Iraq, these are true heroes and everybody wanted to help. And I still believe that today. I think that patriotism's out there. You just don't see it as much as you did, 10 or 15 years ago. But I do believe that at the end of the day, if there's a veteran brand out there and they've got a good reputation, I think everyone's going to want to give that person an opportunity, given the circumstances are the same with the service. I would say we had, fortunately, the competitive advantage going into this because no one was really doing it. And I learned the hard way of why nobody's doing it. And I'll tell you why. Trying to be a franchisor, number one, there's not that many franchisors in the world anyway. There's only about 3,300 franchise concepts in the world. And trying to get them to do what you do as an entrepreneur and your vision and get up every day and do it your way. I was always told, don't do this. It's not going to work because Jerry Flanagan is not going to be the guy in Dallas or in Los Angeles or in Oregon. You can't duplicate yourself. So now you got to trust somebody to do it your way with your reputation, your brand. And this is the risk that Tracy and I had to take, that people are actually going to execute the order. And you think it's military, you give them an SOP, they're gone. They're going to do it. No, they're out of the military now. They're paying you as a franchisee. So they don't have to do it. And that's where the conflict comes in for franchising. So it has been a tough journey for us. I'll be straight up. It has not been, this is fantastic. We sold a lot of franchises. We had a lot of people sign up, never bought, but they signed up territories to hold their place because they want to be in Nashville. They want to be here. They want to be in Atlanta. They look at the map and think it's this big monopoly board. And they go, let me go. And then it turned out that's not the case. It's one business. You have 200 to 400,000 people in your community, all the businesses, all the schools, and you got to be there ready to go with running a business within your territory. So, we definitely have scaled back. We've got some different approaches now. But, I would say that my experience with Halloween stores and my experience with the Moonbound stores and the swing set stores really helped me a lot of handling a lot of stress, a lot of screaming kids at once. Coming into the Halloween store last week before Halloween's nuts. And then also the swing set stores and the Moonbound stores like Chuck E. Cheese on steroids. So I'm used to chaos. People like to say I like to manage in chaos. I'm not much of a reader. I really kind of hate to read. I don't like to read. I like to go right to the cliff notes. I like to watch my documentaries and watch all these great entrepreneurs fail. And I look at all these different ways of how to get back from that. And we're always kind of like regrowing because at the end of the day, it's all about one thing. How many veterans and how many military family members can we put into a business and how many of them can hire their fellow brothers and sisters? I can drop the microphone and walk away right there. And that's all this model really is. It's a marketing play. Anybody can haul junk. Anybody can clean carpets. Go down the list. There's a million of them out there. But who's actually out there really putting some real meaningful thoughts behind how you're employing a fellow veteran in a community? That's what it really comes down to. And thank God Tracy really put this franchise idea together, because selfishly, 15 years ago, if we just built the Philadelphia market out and expanded to Delaware and maybe out to Pittsburgh, we'd have a monster, huge business locally, very controlled. But that risk of going way out there, there's a lot of great franchises we've got out there right now, hustle. And if it wasn't for JDog, they wouldn't be in a business. They'd be doing, I don't know what they would be doing, because a lot of them say if it wasn't for JDog, they wouldn't have taken that leap into entrepreneurship. So I got to remember those. Those are the ones that fill up my cup, so to speak, Matt, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that come through and they think they're going to do it one way and they do it the opposite. And they don't want to work weekends because they did that in the military, and they don't want to listen. And it drives you crazy.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, that's franchising. And that's why not a whole lot of people really take this on. And the veteran community is small. I mean, we're dealing with 1% to 2% of the population. Or it's just, if you get an Annie Ann's pretzel or a Chick-fil-A, anybody in the country can open those up. Well, we have to be very specific. You need a DD-214 to get on the team here. You have to show it.
Whether it's your father or mother.
Brother, sister, you need to be affiliated with the military. You can't buy a franchise.
I think that's super impactful, because what we like to do at our podcast is really tell the stories of those who turn their dog tags into ownership, but then also own their life after service. And you all are providing that opportunity for our community to be able to get into entrepreneurship, but also own their life afterwards through entrepreneurship. And I guess before we get to our last two questions and things, what would be one piece of advice you each would give to a current service member, someone who's already transitioned out, that's thinking of entrepreneurship? What would be a piece of advice you would give them?
Well, my advice would be, you've got to be ready to work like a dog. I mean, 7 days a week. It doesn't, you don't shut it off. I don't care how big you are. It doesn't shut off. You're going to put your head down at night and you're going to dream about it. You're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to type things up. It just doesn't end. And I can tell you that because I've been doing this for a very long time now. And I still wake up in the middle of the night with, oh my God, I hope I don't forget that. I would say you just have to be ready to be committed. I mean, the difference between being an entrepreneur and a military member before you become a veteran is you have that guaranteed paycheck. You know that your food's coming in, you have some housing. It's not all perfect, but those things are guaranteed no matter what. No matter what your rank is, you're still going to be saved. You're an entrepreneur, you don't have a guarantee on your check. I mean, when we first started, I would say goodbye to her, give her a kiss at 6 o'clock in the morning, a cup of coffee, and say, I'm not going to be back until I have $500 in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
We had no money coming here. We had no credit. We had no equity. And it was basically gun to the head. So I was going to do whatever I could. I would literally park at Home Depot and act and pretend I was loading my truck while people were walking outside. You know where the hot dog stand is?
Yeah.
I park right there where the exit is. And as people were walking by, I would say, your shopping done here, and you know what? I have an empty trailer. If you want to drive some stuff home for it, come back, let's load up. And I can pick up junk too while I'm there. I'll do it for $75. I mean, this is how I got jobs when I first started. I would park in a high visible area and just wait for someone to come out and ask me, what's this JDog thing? What are you doing standing here? That was my internet back then.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's what you're going to be facing when you're an entrepreneur. Unless you're retired and you have that extra money, that's different. I'm talking about people that are going to really rely on this entrepreneur idea to go for it. And we teach at St. Joe's, the Jumpstart over there. You have a lot of veterans coming through and they all want to be entrepreneurs. I tell them the bad news. I mean, I spend 90% telling them how bad it is, because that's really important. Get off this great love story I see on my documentaries. It's not like that. It's 90% chaos. It's 10%. Wow, I'm so glad I did this. I hate to say it, but it really your audience. But if you go into it that way, and if you can get down to 60% and 50%, it feels really good.
Yeah.
No, I think, and it's great, Jerry, for the audience members to hear that too. Like we like to show all sides of the business and the lifestyle that business ownership brings. So the dirty stuff is good too, no pun intended. Tracy, your piece of advice.
So my piece of advice is, I guess it's going to kind of piggyback off of him a little bit. If you decide that you want to start a business or you want to be an entrepreneur or whatever, I mean, not only do you have to work hard, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to love it. Whatever business you choose to be an entrepreneur at, you have to love it. And I think for us, it wasn't that he loved picking up junk, but he loved representing, and we loved, I think, representing the veteran brand, the veteran model, veteran owned and operated, that resonated with us, and the ability to hire veterans and help veterans and get into the veteran space and really embrace his military service and be able to showcase that to customers and deliver an outstanding customer experience.
Mhm.
So you have to be, because you're going to work, like he said, you're going to work 7 days a week. I mean, we still don't shut it off. Even now with what we're doing, we still are working all the time. You have to love it. You have to be passionate about it.
And the one thing I noticed when we do boost the business and those things, I've been lucky to do that kind of stuff. And I asked everyone, so where you want to be in business, you have this business idea. Not one of the people in the room are wearing anything related to the military. And I go, right there, that's your competitive advantage. If you're not a proud veteran and you're not wearing the gear, I mean, you're behind the 8 ball, because you need to have veteran owned and operated on. I don't care what you're doing. If you're selling ice cream, donuts, you open a bookstore, I don't care. You got to have something that's going to resonate with your military service, because you never know if you're going to be in an elevator with a CEO of a massive company that served, or his father served, and he's got a contract waiting for you. It's happened to me. I've met people in the field, a Wawa, and have gotten like a $2,000 job out of it just because I was wearing this, or my truck had a big dog on it. But if I didn't have that, that relationship wouldn't happen. So if you're going to go in this veteran entrepreneurship, be all in. If you're not, then don't do podcasts like yours. Go to the other ones. Go to Tony Robbins school. But we have a unique opportunity because we are only the 1 or 2% of the people in the country. So if I went to MIT, the first thing I would wear an MIT shirt. I would have on my resume, MIT graduate as the first thing on my resume, right? Why aren't we doing that as military veterans? Like, why aren't we blasting it everywhere? And that's the difference, what I've learned when we started this, because I never did anything with it. And now everything, we used to see all her jewelry and clothes. I mean, she's got golf outfits that say Mrs. JDog on it. And we're out there golfing and goes, what's this Mrs. JDog thing? And what do you know? Her license plate says Mrs. JDog. Mine says JDog. So, and when you buy a franchise, we tell them, race to the DMV and get JDog in your state first. Because what happens? Anyone driving by is, look, you know how nosy you all are. We always go, what the hell's that license plate mean? What's that mean? You know, like a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, right.
What's way about? And they'll do it. They'll look up JDog. If you right now look up Mrs. JDog on your phone right now, it's her nonstop all over with JDog and tactical treasures. So there's a reason behind it all. And again, business is about marketing. Business is about branding, and business is about relationships. It's people, passion, and purpose. That's all it is. It's all my truck action. So people, passion, and purpose. I mean, you get those 3 going, you're going to be 90% on your way to whatever your idea is. Now, I'm not saying your idea is going to work just because you say, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to do this. It can be the dumbest idea on the planet. But I'm not going to say if you fail, I'm going to say when you fail, because you will fail. I mean, there's nobody dodging the failure program. I failed 3 times. You're going to fail, and it's not in the military where it says failure is not an option. We're going to take that hill and not let people die. When you know you're failing, it's time to pivot and get on to your next life. Because the 3 businesses I had, they all crashed. And I had to get up the next day and dust myself off because I had 2 kids I had to eat. I had her that I had to take care of. So if you're going to be this entrepreneur thing, be prepared to fail and prove me wrong.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Hearing both of you speak about it. And Jerry, I think about when you're out in public and you're presenting yourself and both of you are kind of the walking marketing piece for it. You were talking about early on and how that customer talked about looking all clean cut and how you presented yourself. And I think that goes so far. And it's something that you never know who you're going to talk to, who you're going to interact with, that can absolutely set your path again on a different trajectory.
Correct.
So I think it's so critical. Whatever you're going to do it with pride and purpose, and it can send sort of a ripple effect. And I think it's so important for our audience members to hear that. And the fact that this times it's good for them to hear that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people around, and you don't know what CEOs in that elevator or in line at Wawa. Can be careful. You're in a latitude with somebody at the gas station not pumping fast enough. That could be your next opportunity right there. So always think that way.
So my question for both of you, and Jerry, I know you mentioned earlier you're not a huge reader, but is there a book or a podcast, perhaps something that you'd recommend to our listeners that's had a big impact on you?
Well, the Tactical Treasure podcast is a must watch. She made me say that.
Softball.
I'm different. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've got whatever they call that ADHD. I don't know.
ADHD.
That's why I didn't do well in school, and I just can't. I'm more of I'd rather watch and listen. And I'm not one to sit there. If I'm listening to a podcast, I'm not working. I hate to be like that, but, so I'm probably the worst guy to be. She's definitely a much more of a reader than I am. But I will say that you need to watch what's going on. Every documentary. I mean, I love Cornelius Vanderbilt. I think his story is the best. It's called The First Tycoon. That's one audiobook that I listened to a lot of. It's 24 hours long, so I couldn't listen to the whole thing, but I love those down and dirty stories of these entrepreneurs, especially back in the 1800s, in the turn of the century. They're really good stories to grab on if you want to be an entrepreneur and want to watch somebody fail so many times and blow money and have not luck. Again, they put themselves in a position where they were able to succeed. That really gets me and inspires me. So that's my advice to your listeners. But do you have something, Trace?
Well, I would just say, as far as podcast goes, there's a plethora of podcasts on Reach Across America Radio. And then your Forces Brands USA platform, I think you want some veteran or military focused podcasts to come on there. So eventually that might be a really good place to go. So as far as books for their listeners, one book I would recommend, and I don't know, Jordan Ames, he's a military, he was on my podcast recently. He created a book called, and I don't know if this is I hope it doesn't offend people, but it's called Red Letter Leadership. And it's based on the words of Christ in the Bible. And it's all about leadership. And there's so much that we can take away from that and from his teachings. And based on the podcast, I went and bought the book, and there's good stuff in there, really good stuff. I just think it's a great leadership reference.
Awesome. Thank you.
We're not
Thanks.
scholars.
I think what Tracy said, because we've had a few authors come on our podcast as well, that we've gone out and bought their books and read them, and they've all been impactful for what they say. So definitely one that we'll have to check out from another veteran that wrote a book to help others. So thank you for that recommendation. So our last question of every episode, I know, Jerry, you don't read a lot, but maybe you saw this clip. Admiral William McRaven authored the book, Make Your Bed, Little Things That Can Change Your Life and Maybe the World. So before you guys answer my question, Matt and I always bet on whether or not it's a yes or no. I think we're both a yes, but do you all make your bed every day?
Us all, or why?
You can answer however you would like.
Yes, the bed's made every day.
And you know what?
She won't let me. She hates the way the bed.
I had a guest on who talked about the whole military thing around making your bed. And for the most part, I've always made my bed, but some days you just in a rush and blah, blah. Well, after that, we've made my
I know what clip you're talking about. That speech with the admiral, I think that was great. It didn't inspire me to in my bed for a few minutes. But she definitely likes to take charge of that. I mean, I've got my skills, but that's one area she does not want me doing.
He's our chef.
I cook, yeah.
He's our chef.
I'm the chef.
Jerry, I just figured because of your work ethic that you couldn't leave the house, start your day without a made bed, but it's happening. and it must be that do you both get up around the same time in the morning then? Okay. Yeah.
We're probably sewn at the hip, and yeah, we do all our events together. And I mean, she does her podcast. That's her thing. And that's probably the only thing you do that I don't do, but we're very intertwined. And again, for your listeners, if you're going to be in business and you have a spouse, you may want to make sure that they're kind of on board, because if they're not on board, it's not going to make a happy household. That's for sure.
You both complement each other very well, and perhaps it's good to have strengths and weaknesses that others can obviously complement. Thank you so much for spending the last 50 or so minutes on our podcast. We really appreciate you both coming on here. and what you're doing and the impact that you're making in the lives of veterans. And I know it's not easy. I know the struggle is real, but that daily reminder that you've changed someone's life out there for the better and the impact they're having on their community is such a cool thing. So
Yeah.
congrats to you both, and thanks for being on here.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Julie.
Jerry and Tracy's story is another reminder that taking off the uniform doesn't mean the mission to serve has to end. Sometimes the mission just changes.
And congratulations again to Tracy on an incredible milestone. 200 episodes of the Tactical Treasures podcast. Make sure you catch episode 200 this week, featuring our very own founder and co-host, Julie Austin.
And before we get out of here, it's time for our Forces Brands USA Business of the Week. And this week, we're firing up the grill with Grill Your Ass Off.
Name like that, you know we had to talk about them.
Absolutely. Grill Your Ass Off is a veteran-owned, Texas-based company led by Army veteran Jason Murph, who served as an 11 Bravo infantryman before taking the leadership, camaraderie, and lessons he learned in the military into entrepreneurship. And they've built a brand with some serious personality. From seasonings and rubs to barbecue sauces, jerky, salsa, grilling gear, and more, Grill Your Ass Off has created an entire arsenal for your next cookout.
And even the product names bring a little military attitude to the grill. You've got gunpowder steak and brisket seasoning, Ma Deuce steak seasoning, Infidel pork rub, Claymore Cajun seasoning, and plenty more.
But what we really love is the mission behind the brand. Grill Your Ass Off continues to support military, veteran, first responder, and community-focused nonprofits through products, partnerships, and campaigns. And that's exactly what Forces Brands USA is about. Discovering businesses from our military community and making the intentional decision to support them. So here's your Replace One challenge for the week. The next time you reach for a seasoning, barbecue sauce, jerky, or something for the grill, replace one. Instead of automatically grabbing the same brand you always buy, choose a company built by someone who raised their hand to serve.
Good food, veteran entrepreneurship, and a company called Grill Your Ass Off. I think we can get behind that.
100% we can. So discover Grill Your Ass Off and more military, veteran, and military-connected businesses through Forces Brands USA, the only online marketplace built to help you discover and support the military community. Because every purchase is an opportunity to decide who you want your dollar to support.
And if today's conversation gave you something you needed, share this episode with somebody who needs to hear it.
The uniform may come off, but the mission never ends. We'll see you next week and keep pushing to turn your dog tags into ownership.
From dog tags to ownership, heroes take the lead. Stories of veterans building trains with passion, drive, and speed. From service to success, we're here to inspire the quest. Dog tags to ownership, we're the best. Take the prize.